My name is Caleb Sines. I'm the lead pastor of the Garden Church in San Antonio, Texas. I would say it's hard to be in San Antonio and not in some way be impacted by the immigrant experience, either in people you interact with or, what you experience personally. That is my story. It's my wife's story. Where we serve is the city's medical center area, which is where most of the immigrant and refugee communities gather and populate. Now, it's this beautiful picture of diversity, but it creates a lot of challenges for churches, and we've kind of seen that. And the aches that we feel are an ache for belonging, an ache for dignity, an ache for friendship and connection. So people tend to band together as immigrant groups or refugee groups because they feel that's the only way to be seen and that the world around them can be harsh or dismissive. And that's where I think we have such a great opportunity to practice the way of Jesus is set up tables, engage in fellowship, do the simple things, and find the spirit in that, as opposed to, things that feel like great projects for the kingdom are often the kind of things that miss the people on the ground. Being the child of an immigrant in a city like San Antonio is you carry this sense of displacement. I grew up on the north side of San Antonio. My dad came from Mexico, and so with my Mexican family, I didn't feel Mexican enough, and on the north side, I didn't necessarily feel American enough. And so I grew up with this sense of like trying to find myself, which I think is pretty common to that experience. And so one of the things that I think I received in that is this like stubborn optimism that immigrants carry. And I see it in my dad, and I still see it in his siblings, to walk into a space that's foreign and carrying the optimism that this can become home. It can be a place of belonging. We really emphasize what we have in common is a deep need that Jesus comes to meet, not a strength of our own making, but like we're in this space together as hungry people who know that there's a table waiting for us. And I think to the extent that we can put that on display in our words and the way we greet and the way we serve one another, I think it really helps create a sense of rest for people. A big part for us was a focus on liturgy, the idea that how we worship impacts how we live and vice versa. And so we really wanted to, the phrase we use often is laboratories, not lecture halls. We want people to make a mess as they practice what it means to follow Jesus, but in a space of grace. And so we really were looking for opportunities to integrate that in a more systematic way, which is really how we discovered practicing the way. What we found with especially our college community and newer believers is that structure is such a help and a gift to them, to go like, hey, there is a way. Like, you don't have to figure it out on the other end. And so when we celebrate somebody coming to faith or making a declaration of baptism, we often include a congregational vow, which is, hey, we vow to walk with you through whatever's next. And that isn't just like a nice word to say or a sentence to read on a screen. It's like, we want to walk with you through these practices, not just in showing you, but like bringing you alongside us, that as we walk through what it means to pray, we're praying with and for you. As we walk through what it means to practice Sabbath, to be generous people, like, we're not just telling you what to do, we're embodying it, and you're making our embodiment richer as someone who's joined our church family. You spend enough time with Jesus and you realize the thing you're actually deconstructing is yourself over time, and pulling apart a lot of the experiences you've had or expectations you've had, especially in ministry. For a long time, what I experienced in church community was that there was this deep emphasis on gatherings, in the church gatherings on Sunday mornings that were evangelistic. You bring your unsaved friends to church, and they're gonna walk through that prayer. They're gonna leave saved. And you handle the deep discipleship work, off in your small groups. And I think what's happened is we have churches that don't disciple, that are leading people who don't know how to evangelize. And one of the things I've appreciated about all the practicing the way material is that they take something that we've accepted as intention and brought them together in harmony. That these practices and the programs are easy to invite people into, even if you're exploring faith, to sit down. And we've had people who weren't believers yet sit and go, what's this prayer practice? What does it mean to pray? And to realize that they're stepping into a fellowship that involves conversation, maybe even some differences in response or belief. I think the nuances of that have helped us to bridge what feels like a cultural divide in the church, to embrace both. That we might be people who are discipled, and in that discipleship create spaces where people can experience and come and ask questions. We don't want to give people the impression that discipleship is a solo effort or really seasonal. We really want people to, it's the Eugene Peterson phrase, adopt a long obedience in the same direction. And that takes an ecosystem. I think for the immigrant experience in particular, dignity comes with being seen and then affirmed. And you can't do that with drive-by ministry. You can only do that with relationship, which is how Jesus operated. And that requires a certain kind of pace and vulnerability and willingness to learn. And anything we can do to slow down enough to do that is doing what Jesus longs to do in our community.